It's a great question.
It's a great question.
So here's the thinking, right? Here's the thinking behind it. So my understanding is, right? Well, not really my understanding. It's quite simple. The nicer places, or if you've got lots and lots of money, you want to live in the nicest possible place.
Yeah.
And when I say nice, don't get excited. I'm talking about the weather, right? I remember when Ronaldo come over to Manchester United, and he was always moaning about the weather being awful, right? The weather down south is better. It always rains in Manchester, and it's colder up north, right? I think that's quite a big factor. If you're going to sign, if you're a foreign player used to a warm climate, and you're signing for 3 or 4 years, and you're going to stay somewhere for that length of time, you've done it. You've played up north, you've played for Sunderland, you've played down south for London, right? I just wonder how much.
A bit further south than that, Brighton.
Exactly, yeah. On the coast. Was it on? Did you have a place on the coast or not?
Right on the waterfront, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I bet you still had that. Financially. But I just wonder from a player's perspective if that ever comes into a decision. Because some players, of course, when they're coming over to this country, don't actually realise that even though it's a couple of 100 miles north of wherever, that it's going to be a lot colder, etc. When you signed for Sunderland, were you aware of the differences in weather? Did that come into it?
Yeah, of course. But I remember I always said that I wanted to get as far away from London as possible so I could refocus on what I'd had a tough time. Even though I was top goal scorer second season.
Yeah.
I had a tough time at Spurs, but I wanted to go somewhere where it was fully focused on football. And if you go to the northeast, that is all they care about.
Yes.
Football. So for me, it wasn't an issue. Yeah, I know some players who I've played with who I know really well that were playing in London that had no interest whatsoever in leaving London while they were playing not leaving London. Even if the opportunity, I'll give you a prime example. Adel Taarabt was on an absolute king's ransom at Queen's Park Rangers. He was on bucket full of money, and I think he was getting linked to a couple of clubs up north, bigger clubs as well. I think Liverpool maybe were linked for him for a little bit, clubs like that. And I said to him, "Oh, what are you thinking?" He went, "I'm not leaving London." He goes, "I don't care how much. I don't care. I'm not." I go, "Yeah, but look at the size of the club." And he's like, "Benty, no." He goes, "This is the way," he said to me. He went, "Benty, every day I train, I finish, Kings Road, Shisha." That's what he said to me.
Wow.
That's what he said to me every day. I said, "But like Liverpool, big club is Benty. I don't want to leave London."
Okay, so here's my question: if Liverpool had their training facilities in London, he would have signed for them.
Yeah.
Do you think football fans that would make it? Sorry, do you think that would make a difference to footballers? Right. And is it doable? And how much would that upset football fans if Newcastle United set up a training
base
in London and they did attract a better level of player? And they need to now because they're playing Champions League football, like a Neymar.
Yeah, I mean, listen, don't get Newcastle was a lovely place to live. I lived there. It was nice, but of course. But if you're a foreign player, there's this obsession with London, which I can understand. I'm from London, so I understand that.
Yeah.
So I think if Newcastle was to build a training complex in London and they trained all week in London, the players could live in London and they travel up for the games, I think, there'd be a lot of players that would jump on board. I think that's a fact.
Yeah.
Certainly more foreign would jump on board, that's a fact. But I think by doing that, you almost rip out part of the community, the heart of the community. I know the stadium's still there.
Yeah.
But
in what respect?
Like obviously, there were times where you train and that people will bring local schools to the training ground.
Right.
Or players go into local schools or going into the town centre. And you know what I mean? You try and do things to bring the club and the fans closer together. And I think by you doing that, by building a training complex in London and just playing your games in Newcastle, I think the divide would get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it would cause more problems than it would do good.
Do you think they would have more chance of attracting?
Yeah, because that's just a fact.
So they would.
Like foreign players with that amount of wealth that's in football now want to be in London because you obviously got all the shops there. You got, I mean, it's London, it's the capital of England.
Yeah.
So of course you'd want to be in London. And again, I played with a lot of guys in Sunderland that were from London, and the moment they had a day off, even though they liked living up there, like I said, it was a lovely place to live. Even if they had one day off, they used to be on that train straight back to London.
Really?
Yeah. And Steve Bruce used to lose it because he'd say, "Listen, every Wednesday we'd have a day off."
Yeah.
He'd say on the Tuesday, "Listen, we've got one day off. I don't want to see anyone's cars at that training ground and anyone going to London. Right? You've got family
At the training ground? At the station. Right.
You've got family. Get them to come. You live up here now. Get them to come up here. You don't need to be travelling to London in midweek." And all the lads would go, yeah, that's fine, Bruce, that's fine. Tuesday afternoon, you'd get to that train station. There'd be about 6 or 7 cars just there in the line. Everyone just jumps on the train back to London.
Do you have a problem with that? You understand that? I mean, like Jose.
Yeah, I get that.
Jose lived in a hotel, right? He did move to Manchester.
Yeah, listen, I get it. If you're from London, you want to get back as much as possible. I get it, but I mean, it is a lovely place to live. But honestly, that there would do a lot of damage. That if you built a training complex outside of Newcastle, like in London.
Okay. We'll take calls in a sec. 0371 722 3344. Have a listen to this. I've not heard this yet. Jason Cuddy was alongside Jeremy Hire, of course, on the Sports Bar last night, debated whether Brighton would be a better place to live for a footballer than London.
We'll talk about location.
Oh, it's a beautiful place, that Brighton.
Brighton is, but it ain't London, it ain't Manchester. It's not. It's not those areas. Yes, of course, but
It's not Carlisle, is it?
No, but what I'm saying is, it's not in the heart of London. It's not like it's a different area. It's
Let me tell you now, I'd much rather live in Brighton than London.
Why?
Brighton's beautiful.
I know. Oh, listen. Oh, there we go.
It is a beautiful place.
Repeat that back to me.
I would 100% much rather live in Brighton than London. Are you? What? You'd rather live in London than Brighton? Brighton? Have you been to Brighton?
I've got one of my best mates lives in Brighton. I know Brighton very well. All the little cobbled roads, all the little cobbled alleyways.
Brilliant, though.
It is
beautiful. Lovely houses overlooking the sea.
Yeah.
You live in London.
You can get that in Carlisle.
It takes you 2 hours to get a taxi
You can
into
get
the
that in
office.
Scarborough.
Do you know what, right? Like,
So angry, aren't they?
I've lived there as well, in Brighton. So, and you know what's nice about Brighton? It's not that far from London anyway. Just get on the train. It's like 50 minutes
to here.
to London. So,
Yeah, it's not that far.
listen, I love London, but I love that I don't live in London.
Okay.
It's carnage.
Can I say two things I learned from listening to Jason Cundy just now? Brighton is not in Carlisle. I just learned that. And also Brighton is not in the centre of London. So we're learning on today's show. That's the sort of level that you get on the Sports Bar, that kind of level of education. Just to confirm,
Why is Jason
Brighton
so
is
angry?
not in Carlisle. He's like that all the time, and he screams.
Brighton is lovely, though.
Brighton's beautiful. Brighton's beautiful. Although you poo-pooed it earlier on when someone said, I'd love to live in Brighton. And you went, it's so windy.
No, it was windy.
Christmas time.
It was windy where I was. Slapping off my windows and that, can't sleep. I don't know things about my flat as well, right? It didn't come with parking. So it didn't come with parking, right? Where the flat was, right?
So how old were you?
30 maybe.
You married?
30? Yeah.
So the whole family went with you?
No, just me on my own, right?
That must have been horrible.
So you know when you get if I got back after 8 o'clock,
Yeah.
I could be parking about a mile down the road.
Why'd you buy that?
Because I didn't buy it. They got it for me while I was there.
Why? Why have they done that?
Because, listen, I don't
Where'd
know.
you park your Lamborghini?
Don't be silly. But what I said is,
What was it?
no,
What was it? Was it Ferrari?
no, it wasn't.
What was it?
It was some Jeep.
Yeah, go
right.
on.
So, and I remember them saying,
What one?
if you don't get
The
back,
Mercedes one?
nah, if you don't get back to your flat into like say by 7,
Yeah.
then you might not get a parking spot. And I was like, yeah, joking. First time I got back there about 8:30, I promise you, it's like the officers were here,
Yeah.
and I had to park at Waterloo Station.
No.
I promise you.
What, like a half-hour walk?
Walk, 20-minute walk.
Well, you get a cab.
What do you get a cab for?
No, all the time.
Oh, no, because sometimes I go and train or go back into London.
The problems footballers have. All right, so listen, we're going to ask this question. I really want to hear from clubs. I was going to say Newcastle, Sunderland, they're the main ones, but you could have the argument for Manchester clubs as well, right? I mean, because there's such big clubs now in Manchester, that's not really a problem.
No.
I just wonder if Sunderland fans, if it meant Sunderland in the next 2 or 3 years will get back to the Premier League.
Just mad as well, sorry. Think about the academy, right?
Yeah.
If you were to build a training complex in London, right? Is the academy in London as well?
No.
That stays in Newcastle?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair enough, because then the kids, because all of a sudden, the kids would just vanish.
No, you can't do that. Kids stay up there,
Yeah.
right? The big heads come down here. I haven't got a problem with it. I think it's a great
I
idea.
bet Newcastle fans have.
Well, we'll find out.
talkSPORT Drive with Andy Goldstein. Monday to Friday afternoon from 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.